been challenged, I've been inspired.
I want to see them find a way to make art making a meaningful part of their life.
Students have a certain kind of intensity. They have this desire to understand the world that they're living in.
The creative process often is you start at one point and it evolves and you make new connections, and from those connections, new ideas start to emerge.
Every time I swing the hammer, there is an action and energies imparted into a piece of metal, and it affects change.
They try to push you out of your comfort zones and then make something more expressive.
You see these light bulb moments with students, especially when they're freshmen. What you're saying and what they're doing is finally starting to click. That's really exciting for both of us, I think.
Every time we bring some new position in, it really does offer us a moment to really think about how we understand the world in which we're living in, how it can be shaped, and the kind of impact that we might have on it.
It should prepare them to go out in the world and fearlessly create.
It's making something that's breaking new ground, that's allowing students to have an experience that maybe they wouldn't get somewhere else.
We're really educating students to be leaders in their field and to be able to articulate a vision for themselves that defines the role of the artist designer in the 21st century. Art makes life worth living, I like to say.
The mission and the vision for the Sandfox School weaves together art, architecture, and design education on one hand, together with a world-class museum.
In the midst of an amazing, medium-sized research university.
This is a special place, and the specialness is that there's the space for creating and taking risk and thinking outside the envelope of expectation.
Whether we call it failure or whether we call it risk, it's so close to innovation, it's so close to discovery. When everything looks like it's falling apart, that's sort of the moment where things can come back together in ways that you'd never expect. And if you can really grab hold of that, that's where the thrill is, like that's where the ride is.
I saw the potential of not only students coming to be artists and designers, but also to collaborate across different schools to address issues of things like healthcare design and how we design for a changing set of problems over time.
One of the goals that I have for my students is to really develop a visual language for their projects that's very unique and that's original. The work within the Sandfox School has allowed us to push the conventions of architectural drawing and the language of architectural drawings beyond drafting and to engage other media.
Our design students do illustration. Our illustration students learn type. Many of their senior capstone projects are these blended design illustration projects where there's not a label that they're trying to perform into.
We're not a group of artists just emoting on canvas or through tools. We have something we want to say as citizens.
We see the impact that different urban policies have had on the shape of the city, the way it looks, the way we live today. We learn a lot of history here, which is really interesting and I think really important because it kind of gives you grounding in why you're doing what you're doing.
So it's really important for us to be part of the conversation of how we make our local community, but really how we make the whole world a more just and equitable and sustainable place.
They're looking at the problems of the world and asking themselves, as a designer, how can that problem be addressed?
I like what I see for the future. I really like the things that we're looking at and the ways that we're changing. And I find it very stimulating and exciting and promising and hopeful.
What we've gotten here and what we've learned here is something that we can carry with us to make sure that even though we will have to, when we are practicing, operate within these boundaries, that there are always rules that you can break.
I think it's a terrific credit to the faculty and the leadership to make a professional school that open to include that variety of points of view and dispositions. I find myself struck, and I've mentioned it to the dean, I'd like to come back and do it now. I think I'd finally be a good student.